Good afternoon, everybody. It's 5 o'clock on Tuesday, which means it's time for math. My name is Jeremy Jasper with KathleenJasper.com. And for the next hour, we're going to do all things math for your certification exams. So welcome back again. Second session of the new year. Hope everything is going well. Hope your first week back to school was good, and that you're getting back into the groove and the grind and you're ready to get the year started on a positive note. Hopefully you are getting ready for your certification exams, specifically math if you're watching me, and I'm here to help you to kind of understand and navigate your standardized math certification exams. So for the next hour, we're going to cover 10 problems that I picked out. If you're on our Facebook or if you're on the YouTube, you will see in the link the questions that we'll be going over tonight. If you don't see those or you haven't seen those, don't worry. This is a recorded session. You can pause, you can go back if you're watching this on the replay, find the problems out, or just watch it, go through the motions and do it that way. Either way works. Whatever you find most comfortable, that's what I want you to do. So for these next 10 problems, what I do is I get problems that you send in to me, whether there's a concept that you're unsure of, whether there's an actual problem that you've seen somewhere, or you pull it from a study guide or whatever it may be, go ahead and send those to me and I'll be happy to put them on the show. And then we go through them and I try and spit out as much stuff as I can as far as tips, tricks, little things here and there that will help you maximize your efficiency when taking these math exams. First thing you should do is, if you're practicing, make sure you have a blank sheet of paper. Your blank sheet of paper is all you're going to get to write on and do any work that you have. You do this because that's all you get in the test. You're taking these tests on a computer. You can't write on the screen. They give you either a workbook or they give you laminated paper or something, scratch paper that you can use so you can do all your work on. Because that's how the test goes, that means that's what you have to do when you're practicing. So make sure you have a scratch piece of paper to use while you practice all your math, not just this session, but any math from this point on. Make sure, depending on what test you're taking, that you have the proper calculator that you'll be given. You can get all the calculators on all the tests, the information. You can buy them. Some of them I know and I understand are only on the computer. You can look up and Google that calculator and there will be a sample calculator there for you that you can probably either download or you can use a 4-function calculator, whatever it may be. But make sure you are comfortable with the calculator that you're allowed to use. Okay. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get this thing started. So whether you're on YouTube or Facebook, please feel free to comment if you have any questions. I'll try and do my best. I know I get going and what happens is I start to forget about the comments, and then somebody has a question and then I got to jump back 3 problems. And then it gets a little hairy there at the end, but that's okay. It's always a learning process. So in the comments section, please go ahead and comment on anything that you see. If you need help with something, if you need me to explain something again, I'm happy to do so. Just let me know. So I'll give everybody just another minute to get everything together and on the right pages, and then we will get this thing started. I just gotta make sure that nobody's said anything first. Okay, we're good here. And then one more thing and we can get started. Okay, everything is up and looks good. Okay, all right, we got a first one. How do you know what calculator you're allowed to use? Okay, it's a good question. Whatever test you're taking, so maybe you're taking a praxis test, maybe you're taking, whatever test you're taking, wherever you signed up to take the test, usually is the information page for that test, or you can just Google the test you're taking. There's test specifications. I know for the Praxis, I think it's the elementary, I'm not sure. Let's say Praxis, for example, you look in the test specs, and as you go down, it says calculator, or you're allowed to use a calculator. And then as you scroll down further, it gives you a model number. For the most part on these tests, the model, it's usually a Texas Instrument, like a TI-30. I know Praxis uses a lot of scientific calculators. If you're taking anything in like for Florida, I know that they use a 4-function calculator. So it can be any type of calculator, but it'll tell you specifically 4-function calculator. It's in the test specifications, and they will tell you what type of calculator you can use. If it's not, like on, I know there's another Praxis test that has a calculator embedded into the actual program, which means you can't have a physical calculator. It's actually on the computer. Then it will show you exactly what the calculator looks like. And then it will offer you a trial. You just click on a button and it'll open up. Then it'll allow you to try it out, get used to that calculator. So I'm sure you can have that window open as you are practicing any test that you're taking or your practice material, so you can use that calculator that's on your computer. Okay, that is a good question, and I highly recommend everybody use their calculator. That is a tool that they are allowing you to use. It is a great tool because it does math for you quickly. And when you're in a test setting and you're overly anxious and stressed out, sometimes your mind just isn't firing on all cylinders. So good question there. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, problem 1. A bookstore orders 25 books for a class of 22 students. Each book, which costs the bookstore $15, is to be sold for $20 each. The bookstore must pay a $2 service charge for each unsold book returned. If the bookstore returns 3 books, how much profit will the bookstore make? Okay. So it took me a minute to really kind of figure out this problem, because I thought it was a trick question. This is a problem that was sent in to me. So again, if you are sending me problems, if they do come from other places, just kind of let me know. And if you have the answer for them, include the answer, just so we're sure, because sometimes my interpretation of the problem, or sometimes people type the problem and they don't copy paste it. So there may be stuff there. So if you are sending me problems, which I encourage you, send me all the problems you can. I'd love to just load this up with all your questions, because then I know that's what you're asking. So send them my way, but just make sure, if you can. So I know some people say, well, I know I had a problem. It had a lake and a giraffe and a triangle and a couple numbers. That doesn't help me too much, but I can make do with pretty much anything. So whatever you got, send it my way. So we got to figure out what our profit is. So profit is that right there. How much money did we make? So we can go through this kind of, old school. And sometimes the way you attack a problem, many different people do it many different ways. Some people like equations. Some people like mentally. In this case, I'm going to do it 2 different ways real quick. The first way I was going to do it is, as I read it, that's kind of how I'm going to solve it. And kind of from a business perspective, I was a math teacher, so I understand, how these problems are written, and I feel comfortable with my math skills. I also understand most of you are not math teachers. And so that's why I like to relate it more towards, hey, you're only doing this test because you've got to get some certification, and it just so happens to have a math component on it. That's just how it is, and that's the deal. I can't do anything about that. What I can do is try and make this math easier for you, easily digestible. So I'm trying to look at it as many different ways as I can at how somebody would try and solve this. So the first way I thought would be, well, if I owned a business, and I was running this bookstore, how would I figure this out? Okay. So if I need to know profit, well, let's just go through the motions of what we did. I've got 25 books. And again, you're going to see me mark up these problems because I'm doing this on the iPad, but I have to stress this to you. And that's why I talked to you about that blank sheet of paper. You cannot do what I do here. So I try and do as little as possible, but I also need to explain how things are going. So just be mindful that you are not going to be able to mark up. Like, I know I got 25 books that I have to do. So like I circle that 25 books and each book cost me $15. So I know that if I do 25 books at $15, that's going to cost me $375. So if I am buying these books, right, it costs me money. So I'm going to put a minus, right? Because it's almost like a, debits and credits. Like if you remember how to balance checkbooks and all that kind of stuff. So I know that I'm now $375 in the hole. So that's why I do that. Then it says I sell these books for $20 each. The bookstore must pay a $2 service charge for using it. If the bookstore returns 3 books, how much profit? So it doesn't tell you. It's a weird way. It says 25 books for a class of 22. Well, then it says the bookstore returns 3 books. So I know somebody's not buying 2 books, and it doesn't really come out and say it. There's only 22 books sold. So you kind of have to do a little bit of work on that just to understand that they are selling 22 books. So I know that if I've sold 22 books at $20 each, then that gives me $440. Since I've sold that, that's part of my, profit comes from that because I've now made some money. The deal with the return is going to be this. So I don't know if this may be tricky for some people or not, but if I'm returning books, okay, and each of those books, already cost me $15. So that means, and I got to remember how I did this real quick because I'm sorry, I'm getting lost in my notes here. We got the 22 books that were $20 each. So that gives me the $440. And then because I have to return some books, okay, and returning those books at $3 each. What did I do here? Oh, that's what I did. So there's 3 books left. Each one of those was $15, right? And so let me just make sure. I got the 375 plus. Okay, I'm sorry, I did the wrong way. I got the $3, 3 books for $15. I'm returning those, okay? So because I'm returning those, that counts as money back into my account, correct? That's why, sorry, I had some plus and minus signs and I wasn't thinking straight. And then I get a $2 service charge for each book. Well, if there are 3 books and there was a $2 service charge, that's minus $6. There we go. Oof. Sorry about that. I got confused myself. So now this is logically, in my mind at least, this is what this problem is saying. I bought 25 books for $15 each. So that cost me $375. I then sold 22 books for $20 and got $440. That's money in my account. I then, because I don't use these, I returned 3 of the books for $15 each for a credit. Then they take a $2 service charge for each unsold book. So $3 here, or 3 books, $2 service charge. That's $6 away from me. So if I take 375 negative plus 440 plus 45 minus 6, I get $104. Okay. And so A would be the answer. That's how much profit I will make. I'll make $104 off of this whole order. Okay, sounds good. Makes sense. All right. So then the other way, and definitely the easier way, and I know sometimes I show ways that are difficult, but I like to kind of explain it out so you can see it. Because a lot of times, you know, once you know foundations in math, and it's more for other things, but you know, word problems get a little tricky. But once you know these foundations, then you can start doing the shortcuts and you understand why those shortcuts work. Okay. So if let's just do this. I got 25 books for a class of 22 students, and then each book's 15. So if I'm making 15 on some and 20 on the others, well, then wouldn't that make sense if I do 20 minus 15, I make a $5 profit per book. Okay. So now I'm selling 22 books. So if I do 22 times 5, that gets me, it should be 110, but again, I go right to my calculator. My calculator is always in my hand here. And something like 22 times 5, sure, some of you all can do it in your head real quickly, but since I may be a little stretched out on this test, here we go. I'm just throwing it in the calculator and I just reaffirm because I said 110, but then when I see 110 on the calculator, it just helps me better. It kind of calms me down, says, okay, I know what I'm doing is correct, and I can always check it on the calculator. So I've got $110. That's me selling all these books. But wait, I had to return 3 books, and 3 books count as a $2 service charge. So 3 times the 2 gives me the 6. We take that away. And again, we end up with the 104. And sorry, first problem is usually the sloppiest until I get the writing down, but that's how you can see where you can get the $104 credit. Okay, excellent. Let's go to the next one. I think I pulled a lot of word problems today, a lot of word problems and some charts. So if that's what you're looking for, great. I know that no matter what test you're taking, all the problems today, I'm pretty sure all the problems today, you'll see in one way, shape, or form. Okay. So just like this one, dealing with data and statistics, where it's a problem that has a chart with some numbers, and we got to kind of understand what's going on here. It's good for you to practice these problems because as you look at them, you click next on the test when you're taking the test, and a full screen pops up like this. And you're thinking to yourself, all right, how much time do I have on these problems? Again, check your test specs. It will tell you how many problems are on the test, and it will tell you how much time you're allowed. Take the take your time, divide it by the problems, and you will get how much time per problem you have. Okay, so have that and know that, so that when you get to these problems that are tough, you can spend more time on the tough ones, less time on the easy ones, make a guess if you have to, knowing that you don't have to get every single problem correct. So that's important as well. So I see all this stuff with a chart. So let's just kind of break it down, okay? Alberto's monthly income is $3,200. Part of Alberto's monthly budget is shown at the table. And we got the table, rent, groceries, amount of money. There we go. What percentage of Alberto's income is used to pay for his rent and groceries? Okay, sounds pretty straightforward. So when we're doing these types of problems, we tend to go straight to the focal point, which is the chart, and then we read the question. A lot of the stuff at the top is the narrative. That's this first sentence right here, okay? And we kind of just dismiss it a little bit. We're kind of say, okay, that's the chart. There's usually a sentence, this one right here, that always describes what's going on in the picture or the graph, okay? Don't just kind of, give it a once over and forget about it, go straight to the chart, straight to the problem, because there's a lot of good information in these first sentences, specifically this 3,200 right here. So if this is his monthly income and it says percentage of Alberto's income is rent and groceries, so that means I like rent here and groceries here. That's these two values right here. Okay. So if I need to find the percentage is going to be rent plus groceries all over his monthly income. So what are these values going to be? I'm just going to write it where I have some room. I've got this 896. Oh, geez. 896 plus 384 all over 3,200. Okay. So then that is going to give me, it's 1,280 all over 3,200. And when we do the math, we get, so we do, I just want to show you what it looks like on the calculator, 3,200. Oh, it is, oh, I thought it was, so it's 0.4, which is 40%. And that's where we get A as our answer. Okay. All right. So that was good on that one. What I want to show you, and the reason why I circled that 3,200 is sometimes people will go and they'll read through, they'll see its chart and they'll go straight to the question and they'll say, okay, what is his, you know, again, rent and groceries over his income. Well, if you didn't read it well enough, what some people would do, because it's a chart and they're thinking this is the total, they will add this up. So let's say, I know I still got that circle. Let's say you just went straight for the chart and you added it up. So if you added this up, okay, we already know the 896 because we just did that. It's 1,280 over. If you add all of these up, you will get 1993. So you're now thinking, if you just looked at it, and this happens, that's why I'm pointing this out. Maybe you're like, oh, why would somebody do that? It doesn't matter. This can happen because you see the chart and it looks like, because this says part of his monthly budget. If you didn't pick up on that, you would think that this is all of it, and you would do this over the 1993. And guess what? 1993. If you do 1,280 divided by 1993, you end up getting 64%. And look at this guy right here. They have 64%. That's how these questions are made. They're made so that the numbers where you would do the most common error, they'll show up in the answer choices. So that's why I say, be careful when you're reading these top lines. Know that 3,200 does not represent this entire chart. So that's kind of like a little trick there. So just be careful with that, okay? All right. Anyway, A is the answer. Okay, I see a lot going on the chat. This is cool. Okay, are you able to go back to the problems, or once you hit next, that's it? No, once you hit, as far as my knowledge in all these tests, you are able to go back. Usually what happens is you go through the test, you can mark any problems that are giving you issues. Remember, always put an answer, because if you run out of time and you don't put an answer, then that question is marked wrong. So it's better to guess than to leave anything blank. So make sure every single question is answered. You're able to, or should be able to, mark any problems that you are having problems with, but that also doesn't mean if you're on a 40 question test and you mark 30 problems, that does no good for you. And then at the end, it usually asks you to review. And so you click on a review, and sometimes a page will pop up and it'll have all the problems that are either checked or highlighted for you to review, and you can go straight to those problems. So I hope that answers your question. Yep. Okay, cool. All right, next problem. Again, looks like a lot. So take a breath and just kind of start reading it and go through and kind of see what they're asking for. Again, remember, these are all designed to be done in the time that they're supposed to be done. So if there's a lot on the page, start looking for ways to say, okay, it shouldn't be as hard as it looks like there's many words on this page or pictures. So it says a survey of visitors at National Park was conducted to determine the preferred activity of each visitor to park. Each visitor chose one activity. The survey results are shown. So there we go. So that tells me what this chart is all about right here. It's just everything that I need to know is right there. And then it goes on and says, based on this information, which prediction about the preferred activity for the next 200 visitors to the park is most reasonable? Okay. And so we have this number 200. What does that mean? I know that all of this doesn't add up to 200, but they're just saying based on the percentage that this is, right? And we can talk about this as a percentage, because for however many people there were, 28 did camping, 22 did hiking, 14 did water sports, 16 did it. So we can extrapolate it, which means we can bring these numbers out based on a 200 visitor session. Okay. So does that really mean anything? No. What if this was 1,000 people? What if this was 1,000 people? Well, I still know that 28, and then bring that out to however many would be 1,000, 22 would be, all these numbers are the same. Okay. No matter what this number is right here. So that's important to know. Don't do anything crazy like take this number, then multiply it by 200 and take this and multiply them all by 200, because it's not going to work out well for you. Or even take it out of 200, like 28 out of 200, 22 out of 200. That's not the way to go. This is a distractor right here for sure. Okay. Because if I know that these are consistent, right, and they're only doing it on one day. So obviously this is not statistically accurate, but for the purposes of this test, they're telling you on this one day, based off of these numbers, how is this going to work out? So again, that 200 is a distractor, so be careful with it. So now you don't have to really do any math, like there's no equation or anything because of the answer choices. And these are good questions. You're going to see questions like this because you can't just look at them and do process of elimination. You have to go through each one and understand what it's asking, so that the problem is the answer choices. So the first one says the number of visitors who prefer water sports will be 5 more than the number of visitors who prefer biking trails. So I look and I'm just going to eliminate each answer as I go, because there's, it's not consistent, because B says, we got water sports here, hiking here, camping, and we've got 5 more, 8 more, and so on. So as I go through this, I've got visitors prefer water sports will be 5 more than biking. So where's water sports? I've got water sports here, and water sports is supposed to be 5 more than biking. So here's biking. If I do +5, I get 21, and that means they should equal. That doesn't work out because they're not equal. They're not 5 more. They're actually 2 more. So that is out. So that's how we're doing these types of problems. You're eliminating as you go through the answer choices. That's the only way to do it. You just have to work on your speed and mental math. They're not making it difficult. And I know I use the term difficult loosely because what's difficult for some may not be difficult for others, but they're not making you do a whole equation in each answer choice. It's fairly simple math. Okay. So A is out. B says the number of visitors prefer hiking. So we've got hiking 8 more than water. So hiking, if we can do this, hiking is 22. So I got 22 here, and 22 should be 8 more than water. So here's water, 14. So if I did 14 plus 8, I would get 24, and those numbers do not match up. So B is out. Okay. So then I'm just rolling right on down, and here's where they get you. And I'm going to point it out right away. I'm not going to let you get tricked. Number of visitors for camping will be 15 times. 15 times is definitely different than more. You may get in the habit of seeing more and just see this number. You say, okay, you start calling these out. You go camping, 15, hiking. So if I just did, and I wasn't thinking about it, if I did camping, 15, hiking, well, here's camping, 28, and then hiking is 12, and I do plus 15. Okay, obviously 22 plus 15 does not equal 28, so that doesn't work, and it won't work out. And then 15 times, so camping is 15 times. That's crazy because that'll be a big number. Either way, I want you to understand they will throw one word off in there, because if you look at all of these answer choices, you notice a pattern where it goes all of my categories. So you can see all of my categories here. So water, hiking here. And then these numbers are here. And then I've got, the second one here. So it's like 1, 2, 3 in the order that you see them. And they're all pretty consistent. When they change up on you, that's where you make the mistake. And sometimes they squeeze one in there where it kind of looks right, where maybe this was 15 more than, but it says times. So you might pick that. So I hope you understand what I'm talking about there. So C is out. That means by process of elimination, D's got to be the one. It says the number of visitors for camping. So I got camping at 28 will be 2 times. So 2 times the visitors of water. So that means if I take water here and I multiply it by 2, I get 28. 28 is the same as 28, and therefore D is the correct answer. Okay. Oh shoot, did I do something wrong there? Oh, you know what I did? Sorry. She caught me on that. I was thinking 4 and 4. Sorry. She just called me out on that. That was, I think that was B. Okay, so that's the answer. D is the answer. I got to go back because someone just hit me up on that comment, and that was my fault. And again, let's take that as a learning experience. That's why we use our calculator. So let me erase this. I'm going back to choice B because I did a whoopsie, and still okay because I still marked it wrong. But I got hiking 8 more than water. So hiking 22 here, 8 more than water. 14 plus 8. I was thinking something totally off track, and it's 22, not 24. That's why. That's the one that's the I think that's the one that's hold on a second. Number of visitors for hiking trails will be 8 more than the number of visitors who prefer water sports. Oh shoot, did I see something wrong here? Oh no, I did get that wrong. Okay. Okay, here is why. And you know what? That backfired on me. And I'll tell you why. Because I did exactly what I've been telling you guys not to do. When I looked at this problem and went through it, I did not catch that 200. Okay, now it makes more sense. Okay, so we need to kind of scrap this, and I need to good thing, who is that? Sisters Club. Whoever Sisters Club is, you're saving me right now. So I appreciate that. I think, yeah, because that was the distractor. B was the distractor. Okay, let me clean this up. Let me kind of, I wish I could erase and go back everything. Okay, let me explain to you what's going on here. I'm going to call out this one, answer choice B, and answer choice D. Okay, and here's why. If we were to do what I just did, so backing up in time here, the number of visitors hiking, so hiking was 22. So we've got this at 22, and then 8 more than water sports. Well, water sports is 14. So 14 plus 8 equals 22. These are the same answers, right? So if you didn't see that, that makes sense that they're both the same. But why is that not the answer? And the reason why it's not the answer is because they want to know based off of a certain amount of people. And that's where we get into what's called ratio or percentages or so on. So we have to, and like I said in the beginning, we have to extrapolate it out. So if I was dealing with, let's just say, if I was dealing with 10 people, okay? So, or I'm sorry, for the next 10 visitors, let's try not to keep it too confusing. Let's just take the 200. So we've got 200 here, okay? So whatever this was, this is only number of visitors based off of this here. Let me just add it up real quick, just to 20. Okay, this is out of 80. So all of this is out of 80, okay? So when I do 80, this is gonna be my number, okay? In this case, I've got, and I'm gonna take that hiking, it would be 22 out of 80, okay? Well, now what I have to do is, if I were to do 200 visitors, I'd have 200 down here. 80 is so many times some number to get me to 200, okay? So it's not more, it's dealing with multiplication. If I tell you that I am, I shouldn't say that my house is 3 times bigger than your house, well, then it's not 3 more than your house, it's 3 times bigger. So I take your house and I multiply it by 3 because I got 3 more of them, okay? So it's 3 times the size. Dealing with, you know, elections, we're familiar with all this election stuff going on. They take a sample of, let's say, 1,200 people. They can take what those 1,200 people say and bring it out to what 1,000,000 people would say, because it's so many times, because everything kind of stays consistent. And so you can't use the more, because more is just adding. If I give you 8 more, that's just adding 8 more to it, okay? But I have to do the times because it's based off of a ratio, because it's giving me, in this case, 200 visitors, a certain population. That was a really long way of kind of screwing that problem up. So I am so sorry for that, okay? The 200 doesn't matter, you're right. The number 200 does not matter. And don't say you're sorry, because you caught me on this one, and I'm glad you did, because I don't want to explain it incorrectly. The 200 matters because they're telling you, I want it bigger than so many times, okay? And in this case, this happens to be 200. If they gave me the number 1,000, right? It's still consistent. That's why we pick answer D. It's still going to be 2 times, but it's just, you know, they're not asking exactly, but because I'm doing it on a bigger sample size or bigger population, it's still going to be that many times. So I hope that that helps you. Just know that it's never going to be more. So that's a bad word, because more is just adding, and that doesn't do you any good if you need to take these numbers and bring them out to a different population. So thank you so much for calling me out on that. I'm so sorry. Let me check. I was looking on YouTube. Thank you for doing that on YouTube. Let me see if anybody is yelling at me on the Facebook real quick. Give me 1 second, and then we'll get going here. Uh-oh, here we go. I think P is correct. Yep. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So we're getting all mixed up here on this problem, and I'm so sorry, but I hope, because I see a couple people asking about it on Facebook here. So I just hope you understand, if you get a problem like this and they want to know, you have to understand that this chart was based off of, if I can just explain it one more time. This chart is based off of, so it's out of 80. So if I'm taking just this chart here, this was the visitors at this park for one day, right? This park for one day. So out of the 80, if I choose B, right? So here we go here. Let me kind of clean this up. So if I choose B, where hiking 8 and water. So I see that if I plus 8, I get 22. So for this right here, for these 80 people right here, B would be the correct answer. That's what I need you to understand, okay? That's for those 80 people. Because we are now saying, okay, take this information out of this 80 people and now bring it to this 200 people. Okay, now we've got to take it and do it as far as a ratio. Anytime we speak ratio, that's going to be a certain amount of times. Okay. And I know, and here's why I know this, because I know if I do, okay, because if I do 8 more, it's still going to be, well, I can't because it doesn't give me the amount. Because I know for this one here, camping 2 times water, if I do this times 2, I always get 28. So whatever number I get, these are in a ratio of 2 to 1 or 1 to 2, right? If I do 28 over, if I do 28 over 14, I get 2, right? It's always going to be 2 more. And so because of that, no matter how far I take it, it's still always going to be times 2. Therefore, that keeps you in that space of whether it's 200 visitors, 1,000 visitors, 1,000,000 visitors. Water sports and camping are always going to be in a ratio of 2, or camping is always going to be 2 times more. Hopefully that gets you there. Okay. I understand. Yeah. Okay. So I think I did an okay job re-explaining that, I hope. If not, then get at me. It's okay. I can handle it. Email me, send me all the bad stuff. I know, especially sometimes if you are doing math and somebody's talking to you and then it gets confusing. Oh man, what a mess. So I'm sorry about that. Let's move on. Okay, next problem. We've got dot plots showing the numbers of apples picked by members of 2 different tour groups at an orchard. So here we got tour group 1 and we got tour group 2. Which statement correctly compares these 2 data sets? Okay. When we're talking about this, we go through the answer choices, kind of just look at, kind of pick up some words real quick. And what I want to pick up first is this right here. I see they're looking for median, mode, and range. Okay. As soon as I see mean, median, mode, range, I've got it in my head that I need to rank them. And so this is what I mean when I say that. If you have mean, median, mode, and range, in this case, I don't have mean, so it's okay. I rank them in the easiest to hardest. Right now, I will tell you that mode is the easiest, in my opinion. Why is mode the easiest? Because all you're looking for is the number that repeats. You don't really have to do a lot of math. Then the next easiest one would be range. And then the one after that, I would argue, is median. And then finally, mean. This is the order that I always do these in. And the reason why we do it in this order is because if I do the easiest one first, and that happens to be the answer, then I'm done. But if I keep moving down, I start eliminating. Most of the time, you never have to do the mean. Okay. And that's important for these types of problems, because if you look, this is a pretty big sample size and there are no numbers there. It's just the numbers here and they're dots. And you're like, what do these dots represent? And then I've got all this crazy stuff going on. So that's why I do it in this order. So now, as I go through, obviously there's no mean. So that's good because I don't like doing mean. It's the most. I'm looking at mode first. So let's go to G. The mode of the data is the same for both data sets. So the mode is the most. So I'm looking and I see that this has the most dots and it happens to be 5. And this has the most dots and it happens to be 7. Well, I know that 5 is not the same as 7. So therefore that cannot be the answer. So G is out. Okay, so see how we do that? The next one is going to be range. And so I see H has the word range in it. The range of the data is the same for both data sets. Okay, so let's double check that. And as I look, what is range? Range says I take the highest number and I subtract it from the lowest number, and that's what I've got. So if I look here, I've got 10 here and I've got 1 here. So I do 10 minus 1 equals 9. And then look at that. I've got a 10 here and a 1 here. 10 minus 1 obviously equals 9. Is 9 the same as 9? There you go. I've found the answer and I didn't have to look at the other two. So that's how that works out. That works out a lot of times on these problems because, you know, it takes a long time to do mean, median, mode, and range. And so if you're doing that on these tests, then chances are you're taking up too much time on these. So that's why I always go through and start knocking them off from easiest to hardest. Sometimes you will have to do it, but I'd rather know, okay, if I have to do the mean, then okay, then I'm really going to have to do it because there's something in these answer choices that's telling me I can't eliminate any of the other ones. So just to double check, just because a lot of us don't have enough confidence to, after 2 answer choices, to just go right for it, we kind of second guess ourselves, and that's okay. So I'm going to go through each of them just so we can prove that I'm not lying to you. Let's start with, so we got age. Let me go with J. The distribution of the data is symmetrical. So even if you didn't understand what distribution meant, or you know, it doesn't have mean, median, mode, or range in it, distribution is everything and symmetrical. So if the distribution was symmetrical, that means, what is something that's symmetrical? I can cut it in half and fold it on top of each other and it'd be the same. So if I kind of cut this in half, right? You know, it should, you know, mirror this here. And if I cut this one here, see how this one goes high here at the end? This one's kind of in the middle and then oop, goes high. They're not the same line. So therefore they are not symmetrical because they don't look the same. If they were, then they would be. Okay. All right. So that's why that's out. And then finally, and I already count this, I'm not going to make you count every one of them, and I'm not going to count them again because I do know that I've got them somewhere. So there are 20 numbers in this one, and there are 30 numbers in this one. And so when I go through and I do the median, because that's what it's looking for, the median is going to be the number that's in the middle. So how do I do median? Here's a real quick way of doing median. If you have an even numbered set, you divide it by 2. So 20 divided by 2 is going to give me 10. So that means the 10th and the 11th number are going to be your median. You're asking me, well, how can the 10th and 11th number be your median? Anytime we have an even numbered set, you're going to fall into that, that trap of, see, I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's the 10th number, and that's the 11th number. So if I wrote them all out, it would be 5 and 6. I can't pick anything here because there's nothing there, right? Because even numbered set, you got to have them on both sides. So I go ahead and do the whole thing where you do 5 plus 6 equals 11 divided by 2 equals 5.5. And that's your median, okay? So that's how you figure out this 10 and 11. That means the 10th and the 11th number. It doesn't mean the number 10 and the number 11. So that's why I count. I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? That gets me all the way to the last one of the 5, and then 11 is the 6. So that's how you find median if you're doing it that way, instead of writing all the numbers out. If you are writing all the numbers out, then you are doing these tests wrong. You're taking too much time, and chances are you're not going to pass. I know it's harsh, but that's what it is. You got to know. You can't do tour group 1 and do 1, 2, 2, 3, 3. Get the idea, right? You can't do that. It's going to take you too much time. So you have to approach these a little better. You wouldn't need to figure out what the dots. The reason I ask is they are different. I'm not sure what you're asking there. I asked, you wouldn't need to figure out with the dots. I don't know. I think you may need to be a little more specific on that question, please. But so I got the mean, I'm sorry, the median for that one. And then again, 30, if there's 30 numbers, divide by 2, that gets you 15. Well, there's an even amount, so that means it's the 15th and the 16th number. So then you go through, right? You go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. So the 15th and the 16th number are both 6 and 6. Even numbers, 6 plus 6 divided by 2, still going to give me 6. You know, it's all the same. So I had 5.5 here. I had 6 here. Median is not going to be the same for both of them. Okay, that's gone too. All right, so I hope that helps. All right, next one. We'll try and pick it up a little bit here because it's lagging. Totally goofed on that one problem. All right, members of the chess club held a bake sale to raise money. Cupcakes and cookies were sold. Cupcakes were sold for $1. Cookies were sold for 50 cents. The members sold a total of 288 items. Of the items sold, 2/3 were cupcakes and the remaining items were cookies. How much money did the chess club members raise from the cookies that were sold? Okay. So here's a problem that deals with the fraction. It says the fraction gave me cupcakes, but I want to know cookies. So how do I figure this out? Oh, okay, there she goes. Okay, so like when looking at, sorry, I'm reading what's on the chat. So when looking at the graph, there are 2 dots for 1. Okay, good question. With the range, would you need to be concerned with the dots? Because I went from 1 to 10. Each dot, each dot represents a number, right? And so, so I'm just trying to break this question down for you. So looking at the graph, there are 2 dots for 1, 1, 10, and 3 dots for the okay. The range, let me go back to this. Okay, I got what she's saying. So she's asking, just because they're dots, does it affect the range? And this is why these problems kind of are confusing for people, because it's not, there's no numbers. So I think you're getting caught up on the numbers. The reason why I look here, because this is 1 and this is 10. So the range is going to be from 10 to 1. What you're seeing is you're seeing all these dots and you're like, well, there's more than, you know, doesn't it mean more than that? I think that's what you're saying. So I am going to write this out for you. So what tour group 1 is 1, then it's 2, 2, that's 3, 3, then it's 4, that's 5, 5, 5, 5. See why I'm telling you not to write this out, because it takes a while. And then you go 6, 6, 6, and then you go 7, 7, 8, 8, and then 10. Just know that there's 3 10s there. Okay, so now what is range? Range says go from the high number. Here's my high number. It happens to be a 10. Sorry, there's 3 of them there. But even though there's 3 10s, 10 is still the highest number. Does that make sense? And then here's my 1 all the way. That's my lowest. That's my highest. So the range is from high to low or low to high, whatever you do. It doesn't matter. You know what I'm talking about. So then 10 is my high number. 1 is my low number. That's how I get 9. Now it doesn't matter that there are 20 dots here and 30 dots here, the highest number in each of them is 10, the lowest number is 1, and therefore that's why the range is the same. Okay, so I hope that clarifies that for you. When we talk about, other things like the mean and all that kind of stuff, so like even though if they look kind of the same, it's going to be more difficult for this one because there's more numbers here. So you got to deal with, this has 20 numbers in it. This one has 10 more than this. So that's why they show it to you in a dot plot like this, because it's easily understood. But yeah, don't get confused. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, good. I'm glad you got that. Good question. Thank you for asking. All right, jump back to this one. I need to know cookies. Well, they're giving me what cupcakes were, and they said 2/3 were cupcakes. So here's where fractions and everything come into play. I just want to, if I were to solve this, okay, what I would do is I would take, here's my 2/3. So I know 2/3 were cupcakes. So 2/3 out of 288 items. So how do you do that on your calculator? What do you do? So this is why I'm telling you to do, or this is why I'm going to show you a couple ways to do this problem. If you can use a scientific calculator like this right here, the TI, there's a button. It's usually next to the number 1. And a lot of people don't have this calculator. That's why I'm just showing you. But if you do have it, it's this button here. It's A, B over C. This button right here will allow you to put fractions in your calculator. If you have or are able to use this calculator, you can put 2 and then this A, B, C key and then 3, and it will put 2/3 in your calculator. And then you can do times 288 and you'll get a number. Otherwise, and most of us aren't familiar with the calculator enough, that's why I'm telling you, figure out what calculator you can use and then get comfortable with it. The 2 divided by 3, you'll do 2 divided by 3 and you'll get this 0.6666 right all the way across your calculator, which is fine. So do that in your calculator, and then 288 times 288, and you will get 192, nice and clean. If you just round it off to 0.67 times 288, you see what happens. So if I did 0.67 and then 288, sorry, that's an 8. What happens is I get 192.96. So why is this number different? Well, because we've rounded and we've rounded up, right? We made that 6 a 7. And so that's going to skew it. But remember, we're estimating. So 192 is pretty close to, or 192.96, you would go 193 is close to 192, but it's not. And if you did 193 and you went through all this, you may get confused because you're not going to get the right answer. So what I encourage you to do, well, let me just do this. You did the 192, okay? So we have to understand what this 192 means. 192 is cupcakes. I need cookies. Well, if there were 288 total, we need to subtract. So if we do 288 minus 192, we get 96. This is cookies. We need to know how much money we made. So cookies sell for 50 cents each. Do 96 times 0.5, and we get 48. And C is the correct answer. Okay. So that's using your calculator, going through it. Pretty straightforward, I think. Just be careful. This part right here, if you're estimating, you'll get a different number. So another way to do it in a cleaner way, and again, this all comes back to understanding fractions. And if you get a good foundation on fractions, and I know fractions, nobody likes fractions, I get it, and that's fine. But we just need to know just enough so that we can get past these tests. So with this 2/3, I know I've got this 3 down here. With this 3, right? That's how many parts we have. It's at, 3 parts. So if I did, to make it a little easier, I can do 288 and I can divide it by 3, because if this is telling me if 2/3 were cupcakes, then the rest were cookies. So if you take 288 and divide it by 3, you get 96. Well, I know that 2 out of those 3s, right? So times 2, well, this would be 2, would give me the cupcakes, and then I got 2/3 here. What's left? Because 3/3 is 100%. Always take your 100%. That's why I took 3. So 3 out of 3, that's 100%. If I had 2/3 that were cupcakes, that means 1/3 was the cookies. So knowing that, right, this is times 1, that gives me cookies. That's another way of looking at it. So then I already know it's 96, okay? And then 96 times the 50 cents, and you'll get it. Otherwise, you can do the same thing. And I always do it out of that 100%. It just makes it easier, right? If this was 2/3, again, that means 3 out of 3. So 2/3 equals cups, and then 1/3 equals cookies. And then you can just use the 1/3 the whole way if you wanted to do that as well. Yes, you can cross multiply. Again, it just depends on how fast you want to do this, the way you want to attack it. Let's see, how would we cross multiply? How would we cross multiply? 2/3, 288 over 1. You don't need to cross multiply that, because what happens is you do the 288 times 2, 576 over 3, it's still going to give you 96. No, I'm sorry. I got the answer on my mind. Sorry, 192. Yeah. Okay, that keeps it clean. I'd rather you do that. That keeps it cleaner, right? If we're multiplying fractions, okay, go across, go across. That keeps it cleaner. They put the 2/3 in here for a reason, because it's 0.66667. Okay, but use your calculator if you can, and we'll go from there. Okay, sorry, I need to check up on. I don't have that thing where it has all the screens of all the social media, so when I get comments, it's tough. I got to switch back and forth, but it looks like 1/3. Yep, there you go. 1/3 left of the cookie. Perfect. Okay, looks like they're good on that one. And let's go back to you guys. Okay, next one. All right, again, full page of words. What's this crazy graph mean? I don't know. Let's go ahead and just go with it. Marco has 2 number cubes. The faces of each number cube are numbered from 1 to 6. Marco rolled the number cubes and recorded the numbers showing on the top face of each number cube. The results are shown in the table. Okay, so what they're saying is you have 2 cubes, 2 dice, right? You got 2 cubes, this one and this one. And let's say for this one here, 1 rolled a 2 and 1 rolled a 6 on the top. That's what that means. Okay, so then based on the results, what is the experimental probability that the next time the number cubes are rolled, they will land with a 2 showing on the top face of one number cube and a 4 showing on the top face of the other number cube? Okay, and there we go. We got fractions. This is a probability. More importantly, experimental probability. So there's 2. There's experimental probability and statistical probability. And the difference is experimental probability in this case refers to what they did in this problem. So you only take this as your sample size, right? Because if I roll 2 dice, then I have a probability of getting, in this case, a 2, right? A 2 on one cube is like 1 out of 6, right? Because there's 6 different sides. And if it's, it's from 1 to 6, that's 1 out of 6. And then I do it again for the other one. So it's different. than the statistical one that we're used to. So they throw this experimental probability in there, and that just means take what we did in our experiment and use that information. And so that's what we're going to do. So when we do that, probability takes what we're looking for over the total. So my total is going to be how many rolls that we had. And so you can see it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 by 4. So that's 20. So we had 20 rolls in this one. And then it says we want a 2 showing and a 4. Now, don't read this literally as far as the 2 has to be the first number and the 4 has to be the second number. It just says when they are rolled, you'll get a 2 and a 4. So, and that's why I say if I read 2 and then 4, I may not pick this one because it says 4 and 2. You understand what I'm saying? So when I'm trying to look at this problem in many different ways. And that's why I would say to myself, I could see somebody literally saying, well, it has to be 2, then 4, when really it doesn't matter. So that first one, you may just kind of dismiss. So we won't, because we've got a 2 and a 4, or 4 and a 2, it doesn't matter. So I'm going across, that's it. And I go across, there's another 4 and a 2, and I go, and then I'm going across and going across down there. And then, oh, I got a 2 and a 4. I got a 4 and a 2. I got a 2 and a 4, and I got a 2 and a 4. So based on what they're asking me, which means, did you have a 2 and a 4 face up? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. So in this experiment, my probability for getting a 2 and a 4 to show up on the top is 6 out of 20. Well, I look over, I don't see 6 out of 20. Remember, for probability, we want to go in simplest terms. And so simplest terms would be, if I got 6 and 2, I can take 2 out of each one, and that'll leave me with 3 and 10. I can't go any further, and then it just so happens F is my answer, 3 out of 10. Okay, so don't do, and this is what I was talking about at the beginning with experimental, and I'll leave this up here. What was it? It was 6 out of 20, which is 3 out of 10. Experimental probability with a 2, you have a 1 out of 6 chance of getting a 2 to show up. Okay, so like 1 out of 6. And then to get a 4, that's another 1 out of 6. And you multiply these and you get 1 out of 36. So if somebody was kind of trying to do this as far as probability is concerned, you have a 1 out of 36 chance of getting a 2 and a 4 to show up on the top when you roll dice. And you see that that answer is there, but that doesn't do me any good because this is only referring to these 20 rolls here. Okay, so I don't want anybody to make that mistake. Okay, this is, for this problem, wrong, bad. Okay, next one. All right, I chose this one just because it might look difficult because it's not, straight, it's not zigzag. 2 congruent squares and a parallelogram were used to form the figure. What is the area of the figure in square meters? So they give us 2 squares, 2 congruent squares. Okay, so we got a bunch of geometry terms here. I know I'm squiggling it up, but I just want to, I want to highlight. This is the parallelogram in red, and then the squares are blue. So let me just do the blue squares first. We have 2 congruent. What does congruent mean? Congruent means that the squares are both exactly the same. Okay. And then they are squares. So if this is 3, that means this is 3, and this is 3, and this is 3, and this is 3. Okay. Because by definition, a square has all sides the same. That means this is 3 also. Area of a square, because they want us to find the area, is length times width. So I got 3 times 3. There are 2 of them, so just include it. So it's 2. So 3 times 3 is 9, times 2 is 18. Next, I want to do the parallelogram. All right, how do we find the area of a parallelogram? And the area of a parallelogram, area equals, and get ready for this, base times height, or nope, base times height, sorry, little b, base times height, which is very similar to what we can do with our square, okay? But the problem is I know that because these are congruent squares, that this side is also 3 and this side is also 3. So we get confused sometimes when we're dealing with parallelograms. We want to take this 3 as our height when it's really the 2.8. And the reason why is because they have this right here. This is a right angle that it makes with the base, and this is called an altitude. Okay, so altitude is the base because it creates from the top to the bottom. It's the highest point to the lowest point. And so the only way we can find out what our height is using the altitude. So you will take this 6 times 2.8, and that will give you the area of parallelogram, which is 16.8. You will add those two together and you will get 34.8, and that will be your answer. And I'm willing to bet if, nope, won't work out. So don't try and use 6 times 3 to get your area of your parallelogram. I'm gonna highlight the parallelogram here just so it's not so messy. If you can think about it here, this line and this line are both exactly the same because they're parallel, and then this side and this side are the same. If I were to just kind of well, I shouldn't do that either. If I were to knock this over, right, and straighten it out, do you agree that this 2.8 would then be the height? And so that's why a parallelogram, whether they're kind of off kilter like this, it doesn't matter. It needs to be the height and the base. 6 can be the base. If you think base is bottom, 6 is down here too. So 6 times that will get you the right answer. Okay. All right. Next one, dealing with similarity. Triangle HJK is similar to triangle LMN. That's good. Which proportion can be used to calculate the length of LM in centimeters? Well, they're all in centimeters. So which one is the right proportion? So if you don't know what to do with proportions, this is a good one. That's why I picked this out, because we use what's called matchy. Okay. And so here how this is going to play out. If I look at the tops and the bottoms, they should be corresponding in some way. So let's take this. So let's look at the 7.5, okay, and the LM. Do the 7.5 and the LM match up? And so I've got 7.5 here as my hypotenuse and LM right here. So it doesn't match up because this one should correspond to this one right here. And so that doesn't work. And then again, if we do the 11.25, 11.25 is now this one. 11.2, let me do a different color. 11.25 corresponds with 4.5. That's correct. Oh, no, it's not. Sorry. 4.5. That does not work out. Okay. They are not corresponding. This should be this, and then the 7.5 should go over here. So matchy means match them up. Another way to do it. Get the right colors here. 7.5 over 11.25. So 7.5 is the small triangle. 11.25 is the big triangle. So I got small over big, which means I should do small over big. And the LM is actually the big. The 4.5 is the small. That doesn't work out either. So that one's out. But we can do what's on the top first. So just to go through this quick. Let me get the right one. Okay. So let's do this. Let's do 6 and LM. Do they correspond? I got 6 down here and then LM right here. Well, that doesn't work out because this 6 should go with this 9. And then see on the bottom here, 7.5, 7.5 goes with the 9. Again, that doesn't work out, no go. Okay. The next one, I've got 11.25 to 4.5. 11 points. So I'm starting at the big, which is fine. You can start big or small, whatever it is, but follow the ratio. I've got 11.25 over LM. Okay. So I've got hypotenuse over left side. So we can do this because we're still on the same one. So hypotenuse over left side. Oh, I'm sorry. I looked at LM. I meant 4.5. I'm sorry. They've got 4.5 here. 11.25 and 4.5. That's not going to work out either. Okay. Because they are not corresponding. In order for them to be in a ratio, they have to correspond. They have to match up. The tops need to be the same as the bottoms, essentially. So not going to work out. So let's finally, process of elimination already tells us, let's go 9 and 6. So 9 gives me the bottom, 6 gives me the bottom. So I'm going from big triangle to small triangle, 9, 6, which means LM should be the big triangle, which it is. It happens to be the left side, which means I need to have the left side of the small triangle, which is 4.5, which it happens to be. That's going to be my answer. Okay. You've got to follow what they're giving you in the ratio, use the matchy. They don't match up, right? If they don't go to corresponding sides, then it can't work out. Okay. Next one. A survey was conducted to determine the food choices of 80 students at a picnic. The types of picnic foods are shown in the circle graph. Based on the circle graph, how many more students chose pizza than students who chose salad? So here's our circle graph, and it's giving it to us in percentages, and we need to figure out how many more. So if we need to know pizza over salad, so here's pizza 30%, here's salad 10%. So the obvious thing to do is, remember, it's 80 students. So we're going to do 80 times 0.3, and we'll get a number. That's 24, right? Put it in the calculator because I don't want to have a mistake like I did on the first one. So it's 24. And then 80 times 10%. If you need to put the 0 there, it's fine. Doesn't make a difference. I never put the zeros there, but that's my thing. 80 times 0.10, again, that's going to be 8. So they need to know the difference. It's going to be 24 minus 8 gives me 16. 16 is the number, and there you go. So why did I pick this problem? Because I can show you a different way of doing it, which might be easier. So, and just take it for granted. This isn't that difficult of a problem by way of the way I did the math, but what I'm trying to get at is, don't write too much. Don't write a lot as you're going through it. Do a lot of stuff in the calculator. Write as less work as possible when you're going through these tests, because time is the enemy. There's no need to write all of this stuff to get the right answer sometimes. If this is the only way that you know how to do it, then yeah, absolutely, you got to do what you can. But most of this stuff I could have just done 80 times 0.3 in the calculator and then wrote down 24 and then do 80 times 0.1 and then write down 8 and then do it in my head or do it in the calculator and get the 16, right? When you're dealing with these percentages, in this case here, you already know what it is. So kind of it's 30% and 10%. So what's the difference? The difference is just taking the difference in percentages. If I do 30% minus 10%, that's 20%. So then wouldn't it make sense to just say, well, there's a 20% difference. So no matter how many students there are, it's always going to be 20%. If I do 80 times 0.20, then all I have to do is get 16 and that's it. Okay. Look at it that way more than turning all these into, because I just saw, so just turn percents to decimals and yeah, turn your percents to decimals. That's all you got to do. And then work them however you feel most comfortable. In this scenario, and in all of these that deal with a percentage, like a pie chart or something like this, it wants to know the difference. So just take the difference in percentage. That should be easy because those are usually easy numbers, instead of doing all of this work here. Oops, what did I do? I don't want to do that. I want to do this. Okay. So hopefully that made sense. All right, last one. Oof. Okay. A rectangle, a triangle, and two congruent semicircles were used to form the figure shown. So this is what we call composite figures. So a lot of you may see these in one way or another. Which measurement is closest to the area of the figure in square centimeters? So when they say closest, okay, that means that the answer that you get may not be exactly the answer that's on the answer choices. So it may be off by like just 1 or 2. It's not going to be anything crazy drastic. So just know that. And the reason why they do that is because we're dealing with circles. And if you're using pi, then you're not going to get an exact number. So that's why. All right. So just breaking this up. That's all we got to do. So let's first let's go from easy to hard. I've got what looks to be, and it says rectangle. So this is a rectangle. So this is a rectangle that is 8 by 6. How do I find the area of a rectangle? Again, base times height. So I'll do 8 times 6. Well, here, let's do this. Area of a rectangle, boom, base times height. So I've got 48 here. All right, good enough for me. Next, let's do the triangle. So that would be the next hardest. So my triangle is here. A triangle, so we'll do that under here. Triangle is 1/2 base times height, or 0.5 base times height, just because you're probably dealing with a calculator and you don't want to deal with the fraction. So whichever you remember it, it's 1/2 base times height, and I always write it, but if you get in the habit of doing 0.5, it'll help you because you'll just say, oh, I just put in a calculator. Well, what is my base and what is my height? I know that this right angle here, that's my altitude, 4 is my height, which means I need this value here. If this is a rectangle, that means opposite sides are the same. And so this 6 is the same side as this 6. So now I have my base and my height. So I will do 0.5 times 4 times 6. And that gets me 12, right? I think so. Looks good to me. Okay. And then finally, let's do green. I've got my circle. I've got a circle here and a circle here. And it says two congruent semicircles. So because it says it, that's what it means. You can't just look at these and say, oh yeah, they look like a half circle, because you don't know. But because it says semicircle, semicircle means half circle. That's just in math problems, they have to tell you and give you the information. So these are half circles, which means if I put 2 half circles together, I get 1 full circle. Makes sense? And so the area, because that's what we need to find, of a circle is pi times radius squared. Emphasis on the radius. So this is my half circle here. Okay, we're going to make it a full. We're just going to take this one over here, and now it's a full circle. Okay, but it's got 3 here. 3 is the diameter. Half of the diameter. So diameter divided by 2 equals radius. So 3 divided by 2 equals 1.5. So once I know what my radius is, I'll do 3.14 times 1.5 squared. And remember, order of operations, 1.5 squared, or 1.5 times 1.5, 2.25 times 3.14 gives me 7.065. And then add them all up. So plus 12 plus 48, and we get 27.065. Well, Why did I do that? How did that come? That was definitely not right. What happened there? Let's try that again. 48 plus 12 plus 7.065 equals, that's better, 67.065. It asked for the closest. Well, 67 is pretty close to 67. It doesn't go any higher than that. And so that's why 67 is the answer. Whew. Okay. Almost finished in an hour. Not. All right. So that's it. Next answer key is always on the last slide. Okay. What do we got there? Is there any way to quickly remember the areas, perimeters? Right. Okay. If you are getting a test and it's asking you for areas, perimeters, all that kind of stuff, like for this one, chances are they're going to give you a formula sheet. Again, check your test specs. It will tell you, it will say given worksheet or given reference sheet, and it'll give you a sample of that reference sheet. Unless you are taking a upper level math, which is, I don't even think middle school does it, but like a high school math or anything above that, they don't usually give you reference sheets, but anything other than that, they should give you a reference sheet. They're not expecting you to memorize all these formulas. Like for a problem like this, they wouldn't, I mean, it's just the hardest one is circle. But again, I'm confident that whatever test you're taking, they're giving that to you already. So just double check that they're giving you a reference sheet. Otherwise, then it's, rectangles or squares are all, base times height. Triangle, if anything, they give you the triangle. I would focus on triangle and circles, but honestly, triangle, everybody should get a triangle and everybody should know 1/2 base height. Circles sometimes depends, but good to know. But otherwise, I'm pretty sure that you will get a worksheet. Are you not giving a workshop day anymore? I asked. I put out all the problems. So she's asking you not giving the worksheet. All of the problems are put out day of. So like every Tuesday, not the day before. And so on Facebook and on YouTube, if you look, there's a link and that'll give you the 10 problems. We don't do it the day before. We always do it day of. So I think they were posted this morning or something to that effect. It was about an hour. Okay. It was an hour before. All right. It's what it is. So as soon as I get them loaded up, Kathleen sends them out, whether it's the night before or the day of. So either way, we're able to get it to you. If you can't get it, email and we will get that to you. Forgot to do that. If you have any questions, this was a fun one today. We had a lot of people chatting. I like that. info@Kathleen with a K Jasper.com. Comments, suggestions, problems, critiques, whatever you got, let me have it. And that's it for today. Let me double check on the old FB because unfortunately we tend to neglect you guys. Looks like, okay, you're welcome. Glad you could join. What exam is this for? Question we get all the time. What are these questions for? These are just as general as I can get for everybody. Because, I can do all high school type of problems and then you're not going to like me because a lot of you might be taking elementary. So I try and keep it right down the middle. A lot of the stuff I do, you will use those skills, in most everything. Like do a lot of ratios. I do a lot of the simple geometries and that kind of stuff. So if you need something, then send it to me. Tell me what you need. I'm happy to do what you need. You guys are the audience. I'm doing this for you. I'm here to help you out. So I want to make sure that I'm hitting everything that you all need. So do you use YouTube more than Facebook? No, we use them all the same. I just, that's funny. I just don't have the comments up. That's the only reason why. She's asked, do you use YouTube more than Facebook? No. So it's the one that I have up because I get the most interaction out of you guys on YouTube than I do out of Facebook. But I'm happy to work out a way to get both of them going at the same time. I'm studying for GK math. Yeah. Okay. So just, understand time is the enemy. So you need to really focus on getting the answers as quick as you can. Don't leave anything blank. And gosh, I can't think of anything else. Just, just kind of know, be confident in your math and you should be okay. All right. That's going to do it for me for tonight. If you need anything, please email me info@kathleenjasper.com. Hit us up on all the major socials, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever it is that you enjoy using. You can find us somewhere and we will help you out as best we can. Last one, why does it say VS on all of the tests? I don't know what VS means. I'm sorry. What test is that on? I'm sorry, I can't help you out on that one. Okay, so if anybody needs anything, if you're watching this on the recording and you had a question and you didn't get it answered, email me and I'll get back to you. Other than that, everybody have a fantastic week and I will see you next Tuesday. Take care, everybody. Have a good